Hey everybody, Wayne here. Today we have a very special guest, at least for the first part of the stream, and that is my boy Vern here. Yeah, you're the special guest today. Do you know that? You know you're going to be a special guest? Was that a smile? Was that a smile? Yes. Was that a smile, buddy? All right, so welcome everybody. Welcome everybody, baby Vern. Wayne Hansen the third. I'm a junior. Dad was a senior. But we like to go by Vern for him because, too many Waynes confuses everybody and you don't want too many Waynes around. So, welcome everybody. Welcome. As usual, we'll kind of hang out for a little bit, give it a couple minutes as people are trickling on in. So, yeah. What are you doing, buddy? Why? What are you doing? Wait. No. What do you got? On your finger? Number one finger? What do you think? You number one? Are you my number one fan? Come on. Oh, he just wants to eat it. I see how it is. He just wants to eat this thing. Oh, he's like, come on, Dad. Come on. What do you think? We got a full house. I have my dogs. Everything's the room is open. Dogs are in here as well, so we got a full crew at least for a little while. Like I said, the wife is busy. She's off getting her hair did, as they say, and so I'll be watching Baby Vern at least for a little while. She should be home here in a little bit. She can kind of take over. So good morning or good afternoon here. It is noon now here in Southwest Missouri. We got a few people in here. A couple minutes in, we can go ahead and start, get her going. So, Charles, great to see you as always. Chris, definitely love to see you here. David, we're getting the crew in here, baby. We got the crew coming in. Special guest, this guy. That's you. Special guest. Yeah. He's like, I don't know about this. I didn't agree to this. Christopher, wondering about lifestyle games. That is the topic for today. We'll get into it here in a little bit. Christopher, oh my, what a sweetie. Thank you. I know I am. Oh, you meant little Vern? Okay. Thank you. He is. I think he is. What are you doing? What are you doing? Can you see? Can I see yourself there? He's like, oh my gosh. He's like, look at that good looking baby. Hugo says, hello from Brazil. Greetings, Hugo. Or as I like to say, howdy. JBX, howdy. All right. So, hope everyone's having a great week or had a great week. It's, you made it. The weekend is almost here, or it is here for some of us. Like I said, it's about noon on Friday. Here in Southwest Missouri. It is a pleasant, 93 degrees right now. High around 96 in a couple hours. It's a little drier, not as humid, so it's only expected to have a heat index of, I think, 90, I think they said 98 with the humidity with the heat index, which is a little bit of a break. It's been 100 plus basically every day. Yesterday, we were coming back from St. Louis for some medical stuff with my little guy here. And that's his alarm going off, but it's the sensor thing is being a little funky right now, so no cause for alarm. But anyway, I'm back from St. Louis. I think it was like 104. So car was good, but you just stay inside and enjoy the air conditioning with that kind of weather. You can't do anything else. That's pretty much it. So, but again, welcome everybody. How you doing, buddy? How you doing? Want to say hi? Say hi to everybody. Baby Vern. Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, he's like, I don't know about all this. I'm a little skeptical. I got my dog down here too. Oh, hey everybody. I'm Vern. Vern, he hasn't learned cameras yet. Doesn't know quite yet. We're learning Wargames today. Teaching him Wargames. We'll teach him cameras next week. Figure in a couple weeks he'll be running his own show probably. Right? What do you think? Maybe? Maybe not? It's like, Dad, don't think so. And you guys can see dog down there. That's Fritz. So like I said, we got a little bit of full house here today, with the wife getting her hair done. So I'm keeping track of the house, keeping track of the household here. So again, welcome everybody. Say hi. Let us know where you're at, where you're from, what the temperature is, what you're playing. Let us all know. All right. So for today's topic, like I mentioned in the title, it is lifestyle war games. But before we dive into that, as usual, let's do kind of a quick channel briefing. You know, we can look at an upcoming game that caught my eye, and then we'll dive into the topic. So, channel briefing. So first off, I'm still in the middle of my Point Blank V's for Victory coverage, which is a game you can see on the table back there, designed by Sean Drulinger, published by Lock Mode Publishing. It's so as you don't know, it's a tactical, squad scale card war game. It has a full Solitaire bot with it as well, so I've been playing in Solitaire. The rules of it have roots in the Lock and Load tactical, hex and counter games. I promise, have a gameplay video and a review going up next week. It's a promise. So I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it off my table. The game, it has a lot to it. It's taken me a lot of time and honestly mental effort to kind of learn it and play it over and over, and just getting through stuff to the point where I feel comfortable giving it a fair review. So I'll have a gameplay, like I said, a gameplay video. It's not going to be a full tutorial. Lock and Load Publishing does a great job. They have boot camp videos from Gimpy Gamer, Nate Rogers. They have a ton of content. There's other people that are covering it, and so I'm just going to kind of do a gameplay so you can see it in action from me, from my perspective, how I like to play it, and then my full review. And it's going to be a long review because there's a lot to the game. Charles says, low 80s here, run around 100. Tylenol's my friend. Ooh, not feeling too well, Charles. Sorry about that, my friend. Definitely take some Tylenol, relax. I have not a negative on all the tests. Go figure. Well, something's wrong. Sounds like something's wrong anyway. We'll hope you feel better soon. Hydrate, and then hydrate Tylenol, and hydrate some more. Keep those liquids coming in. It's got to be OJ or some juice. Go ahead. Otherwise, I'd say water. Lots and lots of water. Mark comments, Vern's fascinated with the hand gestures. He is. So Vern is all into like stimulation right now, right? So he likes sounds and gestures. So you can put on, not that I recommend necessarily having the TV via babysitter, but hey, sometimes you throw on kind of a movie, a Disney movie, or some cartoon or some animated movie, whatever. Just hey, kind of keep you company while you're holding him, feeding him, whatever. We're watching Moana. He loves it, but clearly doesn't understand the words, right? I mean, he's a baby. He's of course a genius because obviously my son, of course. But he doesn't understand the words or anything, but he just loves watching it. All the colors, the music, especially anything with where there's music and there's singing. He loves it, and he'll just sit there watching it. I'll fire up YouTube. He'll even, although there's no sound attached to it, I was playing Point Blank the other day, and just kind of handling the cards and kind of doing this and that. I could see him watching. He's like, interesting, watching me. So he just likes that stimulation, likes the moving and everything like that. Isn't that right, buddy? Yeah, I mean, you go for something else. Oh, is it a yawn? Are you bored of me? How about this? You will keep it in your mouth while you're sitting up? He's like, maybe, Dad. I don't know. You can try. He knows how to hold it. Richard, greetings from the Czech Republic. Howdy. Howdy, Richard. Christopher, heal soon. I hope, especially if he's interfering with gaming. Absolutely, Charles. Hope you feel better soon. All right. Don't want anyone being sick. Okay. All right. Doing okay? Yeah, you're doing okay, buddy. I know. Uh-oh. Oh, uh-oh. The yellow fussy. Uh-oh, here we go. Oh, no. You don't want to get fussy. So, just a quick aside, too, with baby Vern here. You can see he has a little oxygen on here. So what he has, and right now, like I said, the sensor it's not working right, but he has a pulse ox monitor. So he has oxygen, just a low level, a little bit. They dropped him down to 4/10, 4/10 of a liter, and then so just a little bit. And then he has, like I said, this pulse ox keeps track of the oxygen in the blood and then his heart rate. So, but he does very, very well. So right now it's being funky. It says replace the sensor. Really, I'd probably have to mess with the pieces here a little bit. I'm trying not to interfere too much with the broadcast. But you know what, guys? Here's the deal. It's what you get. You guys are watching. We get the crew in here. You guys have been talking about Vern, and I get to meet him and see the fun stuff. Look, he's like, I love when he looks at the screen. Looks like he's looking at himself. So anyway, get this thing hopefully fixed here. So stops alarming. What? What? You want that? I know, buddy. All right. Yeah. So, well, yeah, the numbers are wrong on it. I was gonna say the numbers have popped up, but the numbers are wrong. Oh. Okay, buddy. Yeah. He's like, I'm okay, Dad. I'm okay. Here you go. Oh, waving his hands around. Good job, buddy. Good job. You able to hang on to it? Want to hang on to it for you? All right. So, yeah, numbers aren't really coming up on here. I got to fix it. Anyway. All right. Enough about you, Vern. You're not the center of attention all the time. All right. So, what we're talking about here? So, I mentioned Point Blank, V is for Victory. That I will going to get that taken care of here. I will get the review video and then the gameplay video posted next week here. So my plan, what I'd like to do with videos is basically do a video Monday, a video Wednesday, and then do the live stream on Friday. So I'm guaranteed kind of 2 videos. You guys get 2 videos a week. They're spaced out by a couple days. And then maybe like anything special over the weekend, right? So if I have like a one-off, I just want to do a playthrough or a quick little nonsense video, right? Just cover something, a little comparison video, whatever, right? Like random content. Do that maybe over the weekend, right? Like have that come up Saturday or Sunday. So that's what I'm thinking. But again, there's no not necessary. It doesn't have to happen. So we'll see. All right. And again, welcome people who've been trickling in here as we get into the broadcast here. Trickling in. Welcome. Glad to see you guys. All right, so you can see numbers have come up. So 91% oxygen percentage in his blood, and then a pulse of 144. Those are good numbers. Jumpmaster asks, you mentioned a Vietnam Solitaire game the other day. What was it again? I'm glad you brought that up, Jumpmaster, because that's the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is the next game. You guys can see it right there. A little bit of glare. Apologies for that. It is Save South Vietnam from Bob Faniff and Fortress Games. It's a true solitaire war game. Covers the entire Vietnam War. And I was going to say, in my little show notes here, I have a comment that I had a comment on one of my videos for Hearts and Minds 3rd Edition, which I guess was you, which is from John Paniski and Compass Games, right? And you said you weren't really interested in like a bot or anything like that. This game is a true solo game. Doesn't use a bot. Trying to emulate second player. It is literally you versus like the system, right? So more of a true solitaire game. So Save South Vietnam, Bob Faniff and Fortress Games. That's one that he did send me. So I'm going to go ahead and check out to show off to you guys. And I will be covering that, like I said, once I finish up with Point Blank, V is for Victory. So. Let me see if I can. Oh, the hiccups now? Oh no, not the hiccups. Let me see if I can find. Dun-dun-dun. There it is. Just to kind of show you guys a little bit, since you're asking, and since I wanted to cover it anyway. Boom. So, Safe South Vietnam. To the cover here. And disconnected again. This thing's wild. When you're holding him or something like this, that's when it gets extra crazy. Hey, buddy, you okay? You got the hiccups, don't you? Oh no, you poor little guy. You got the hiccups. You're yawning. Oh, you're a mess. I just fed him right before the broadcast. So my wife's what? What is it? What is it? What is it for? Oh. It's like I'm getting a little antsy. All right, buddy. Here you go. Come on. Oh. Uh-oh. You know what to do with the hiccups, do you? You're like, I don't know what this is. It's like, I'm a baby. I don't know about hiccups. So, save South Vietnam. Whoa, never mind on that one. Solitaire game of the South Vietnamese and U.S. war against the Viet Cong and North Vietnam, 1965 to question mark. So I'm excited to get into this one with Bob Faniff and Fortress Games. I covered 20th Air Force and 8th Air Force. I think I want to say 8th Air Force is what I really covered on my channel. He sent me 20th Air Force. Well, I just did unbagging for that. So I'm excited to look into that. Always love a good Solitaire game, a newer. Oh, you dropped it. Newer Solitaire games. This one just came out last year, I think, towards the end of last year. Hey, buddy. So it's a newer game. So we'll dig into that one. You got to see. I think there was a picture of the map at the back of the box. It's a folio game, but let's see. It's like a full size game though. Let's see if we can find a nice picture of that. I like how the map looks on this one. I think he looks a lot better than... That's probably too big. Yeah, too big. A lot better than 8th Air Force and 20th Air Force looked. He definitely upped... Bob Faniff did definitely up the art production of the game for sure. So excited to dig into it and see how the gameplay is. All right. So yeah, that's Save South Vietnam. So that'll be the next one on the show. And then I mentioned this last week, but after I do Save South Vietnam, I think I should be caught up on all my review copies, any of those commitments. Because like I said before, when I get a review copy in, I try to cover it first. I try to cover them in order if possible, unless there's a big game that I just need to jump ahead because it needs to get covered. But otherwise, I try to cover them before the games that I've purchased for myself style. But I should be caught up for the most part, enough anyway that I can kind of get into what I want to get into. Not that I don't want to get into these games, but just sort of, right, to completely being able to just pick, okay, that's what I want to play, not some other random game, or game that is sent to me and I feel obligated to cover. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of a break from larger games. I want to get back to doing some smaller, faster playing solitaire games, right? So some of those decision games, folios, I was thinking of looking into. I own a couple. I think I'm probably going to pick up a couple more. Maybe a smaller footprint game from White Dog Games, which I'm going to mention one that is a new release coming up, which I'm going to cover here in a second. And then I do have Flashpoint South China Sea from GMT coming, which I think it's a smaller footprint game with simpler rules. Although I have to dig into it just to make sure. If it's going to be complicated, it's going to be a big game. I'm not going to cover it right away, but we'll see. I'll just have to look into that one a little bit more. I just need a break from these like brain burner type of games. You know what I mean? It's just getting to be too much for me. So not too much for me, I shouldn't say, but just right now, right? I want a break, right? I like to balance my games with like heavier and lighter. Also try on the channel to do sort of like bigger publisher games, GMT, DVG, Compass, and then balance it with like White Dog, Hollandspiel, or Fortress Games, right? Like these really small publishers or smaller publishers. So try to get a good balance of games. Hey, buddy, what you doing? What you doing? Oh, it's like, I don't know. Oh, the hiccups. The hiccups. He got the hiccups. Oh, no. All right. So what? Let's see what next. Oh, yeah. So speaking of new releases and smaller games, let me go ahead and pull up. Dun, dun, dun. This is one that and I want to do this every week because I'm going to cover a game that's upcoming. It could be shortly. It could be a while from now. Just something I want to sort of show off, and I want to let you guys know that I'm keeping an eye on. In today's case, Vultures Lead the Way, Battles of the 324th Vulture Regiment, designed by the evil genius himself, Herman Luttman, and published by White Dog Games. This game uses the engine from In Magnificent Style, which most of you know I absolutely adore. The American Civil War game covers Pickett's Charge at Gettysburg, and then also the same engine behind Crowbar, or similar. I'm sure the exact same. Herm loves to modify his games, even like the blind swords. You play a blind swords game, each game probably has slight changes from game to game within the rules. So nothing major, but enough that he likes to just make those little changes. So, and the system itself, if you're not familiar with it, it's push your luck, which is fairly unique to war games, right? You're either rolling dice or you're playing cards, and you're moving your men up. Basically, this. Let's kind of look at the map here. You're moving your men or whatever up from the bottom towards the top. You are probably being attacked, and with push your luck, right, is like you're trying to make it as far as you can in each turn. But what happens is if you don't sort of stop and like consolidate your gains, then you may get hit. Something may happen. It may push you all the way back to the beginning, right to the bottom of the map. So it's really clever. Again, it's push your luck, which is very common in like traditional board games, non-war games, but I say it's fairly rare in wargaming circles, certainly to that degree. It's obviously it's science fiction, it's solitaire, war game. Obviously, all that definitely catches my attention. So, vultures lead the way. Suddenly, panicked interplanetary calls for help were heard from Mars. A hideous alien menace known as the Firmicians, named after the astronomer Enrico Fermi, had attacked the planet and occupied it within a matter of hours. Oh man. They were planning the complete destruction of the red planet using a massive bomb referred to as the Doomsday Device. Oh no! There's only one way. And there's another one heading towards Earth's moon. So the only way to deal with this coordinated invasion, send in the Vultures. All right. Hey, buddy. There you go. Oh, the hiccups. Poor guy. All right. So yeah, no, I'm definitely. And there's his cards, I believe, instead of any dice. I don't think you're going to be using any dice. I think it's just going to be. Ooh, it looks like it actually has multiple modes of play: solitaire, 2-player, 3-player, cooperative, and semi-cooperative. I'll be doing solo, obviously, but map looks good. These cards. Vulture unit activation. Wonder if it's each one. All of them move or activate or whatever. We'll see. We'll learn. We'll learn and see how it goes. So, not sure when this one's coming out, but definitely is one I'm very interested in. It looks like there's a interview. Looks like Herman Lutman did an interview with ID Jester on his channel, so you guys can check that out if you want. For upcoming games, Christopher mentions Kaiser Krieg. Looks interesting. Also from White Dog Games, Arbed Madison design. I definitely want to pick that one up. I'm talking about that one for weeks. Of like, I need to pick it up. I've people literally like contacting me. You have this game? Are you gonna look at it? I will. I will look at it. You guys know, huge Arbed Madison fan. His solitaire designs. Jeff Davis is probably my favorite of his. Jeff Davis, The Confederacy of War. Fantastic design, and I believe Kaiser Krieg uses a very similar base sort of system to that, to Jeff Davis. So definitely interested in that one. And again, I don't know if I mentioned it, White Dog Games publishing Kaiser Krieg. Kaiser Krieg being a World War I like grand strategy game. Charles, with luck, Worthington's Malta Besiege goes to the table soon. Got a book too, Siege Malta by E. Bradford. All right. I love combining a book with a game. I know that I see Christopher asking, how much do you know about the Siege? Asking Charles for picking up the game and book. So I know that for me, even so, there's some topics, right? Like kind of a lot about it, something you've studied a lot or read a lot or seen stuff on. But even then, I like to read something, read a book, watch a documentary, and if it's something I don't know a lot about, I take that opportunity, right? I look at that war game as educational as much as entertainment, right? It's not just a game in that sense. It's history, right? I mean, okay, if it's Vultures lead the way, these space aliens, it's probably not much history, future history. But I just love to see, love to read, love to learn, and learn things about history that I didn't know. Maybe it's even a conflict where it's like, I know a lot about it. I'm probably pretty good, kind of with my knowledge. I feel comfortable. And then I read something or see something, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that. And maybe that's tied into the design. Hopefully it is, right? Hopefully if you have a game, it kind of tied into design, right? Every war game should have the history tied into, the mechanics, right? Design for effect style. So you have mechanics that are teaching you not only the game, you're playing this game, but you're learning history. It's tied into it. Is it a siege? Is it more offensive? Is it more defensive, right? Look at In Magnificent style, right? I mean, the game engine, this push your luck, aggressive style, You are supposed to be very aggressive, pushing your luck, taking chances. You're on the offensive completely. Well, what is it? What is in Magnificent Style cover? Pickett's charge at Gettysburg. What was that? Aggressive, attacking, charging, right? That's the point of it. So, like, the game, right, is designed for that effect, and then built around, obviously, kind of the realities of the battle, where there was artillery, how the infantry move, etc., etc. So, so learning by accident, aka fun. Well, exactly. Like, you play these games and you're learning it. And sometimes, I mean, I've picked up a game where it wasn't a topic that I had a huge interest in. Just to be perfectly honest, right? For instance, Irish Freedom by David Kershaw, published by White Dog Games, a recent one I covered. I can't say I had a huge interest in the Irish Rebellion, right? The Irish Rebellion and Irish Civil Wars, basically two separate conflicts very close together. Can't say I had a huge interest in them. I mean, I'm American. There wasn't really, as far as I'm aware, any Americans involved in it. Period. It doesn't mean I don't care about a conflict. I love Roman ancients and Roman Empire. No Americans there, but just something I'd never really learned a whole lot about, right? Well, when I played that game, I ended up I didn't read a book on that one. I watched like a short documentary on it, and the game itself has a lot of history in it. It has within the notes in the rule book. It has history on the cards that are based on historical events. So you're playing Irish Freedom. You're learning about these conflicts, probably more than you knew before. At least for me, certainly. So, love doing that with games. Absolutely. Hey, buddy. Looking outside now? Looking outside? Oh, I love this kid. All right. Want this? He's like, maybe. Oh, you poor guy with his hiccups. All right. So, let me check my show notes here. So we covered it. We'll look at that. All right. So how about we get into the topic of the week, and that is lifestyle war games. All right. So the first question is, what is a lifestyle war game? I think that when you say the term lifestyle war game, we all have games that come to mind, right? I think the first one for most people would be Advanced Squad Leader, ASL, right? Huge game, been around a long time, so much to it, costs all kinds of all the money, right, to get into it, complex rules, etc., etc. It's a big game. It's kind of a lifestyle. If you're playing ASL, you kind of got to get into it, right? It's going to be the focus of your gaming time and energy and money. What about great campaigns of the American Civil War from Multiman Publishing? What about the Operational Combat Series, OCS, from MMP, right? I mean, large rule sets, lots of games. No, they're not all necessarily built on one game, like something like ASL, right? It kind of stems from one game, and everything else kind of almost like an expansion to it. Obviously, something like Great Campaigns, the American Civil War, you have different games that are covering different theaters, different campaigns, right? Different areas of the war. Buddy, okay. Same with OCS, right? You're covering different conflicts, different things like that, but each game is self-contained. But man, heavy rule set, takes a long time to play them. There's new games that are released, but really, someone who loves OCS is probably picking up all of them, right? What about Great Battles of History from GMT? I mean, how many games are there in Great Battles of History? I love Great Battles of History. Now I play simple Great Battles of History. I get the simple second edition, simple Great Battles of History. My dog barking. And my wife may be home. Thank you. Yep, my wife is home, so I think she'll be grabbing Vern here in a second. So you're going to have to say bye, Vern. I don't think you're going to be the star anymore. Sorry, buddy. Oh, he's like, fine. Bye. Bye, everybody. Oh, look at his face. He's like, I don't want to go now. I like it. Bye. You give a smile, buddy? You give a smile? He's like, I don't think so. I'm just looking at him. He's like looking at himself on the monitor. So I have the camera feed up. He's like staring at himself. He's like, look at that cute baby. He's like, who is that? That's you, buddy. That's you. That's you. All right. Gotta go. Gotta go, buddy. Let's bring up this. Boom. So you guys I can move on here. All right. There we go. All right. Okay. Okay. I'm back. Minus Vern. He's gone. Okay. All right. Ooh, I kept the number one finger though. So number one, baby. All right. Let's get down to serious stuff now that the sun is gone. All right. Where are we at? What are they talking about? Okay. So I mentioned Great Battle of History. All right. So lifestyle war games, right? Diving in now. Let's talk about this. ASL, Advanced Squad Leader. Great Campaigns, the American Civil War. Operational Combat Series. Great Battles of History from GMT. How about some newer games and newer systems? How about Lock and Load Tactical from Lock and Load Publishing? I mean, you get into that, it's a heavy rule set. Lock and Load, love a lot of their games. I know that they kind of mentioned like play the game, not the rule book type of thing. You're looking in that rule book. You're not just playing the game without the rulebook on Lock and Load Tactical, that's for sure. A lot to it, though. A lot of good stuff, right? Man, a lot of games. They're always releasing new ones. I mean, you're going to spend a lot of money if you're going to get the whole system. What about Warfighter from DVG? I mean, you may think, well, that's a lot simpler of a game. It is, absolutely. But there's a lot to it. There's a lot of expansions to it. I mean, how much would it cost to get every Warfighter base game and every expansion? A couple $1,000 probably. So there's a lot to that game, right? It is something that if you're really getting into it, if you are learning everything and you're playing everything that's available, it's probably going to be kind of a lifestyle for you, right? It's going to take up a huge part of your hobby. So for Wayne's definition of a lifestyle war game, this is a very unofficial definition, but this one's mine. A war game that, due to time required to learn and play, along with the cost to purchase the game and all expansions or other content, combined with the game's complexity, has the potential to take up the majority or all of a person's hobby energy. Now, the weakest part of my definition is probably the end there. Hobby energy, what is that, you may say? But that's all those things I mentioned, right? It's time, it's money, and it's mental energy, right? Because it takes effort to learn and then play these games. They're fun, they're entertaining, they're educational. That's why we play them, that's why we learn them, that's why we talk about them, right? But it still takes up some mental energy. And the more complex a game is, the more moving parts, the more components, the more energy it's going to take. Mental and, honestly, some of these games physical as well. Or table space may be required. Maybe not, but it may be. So in my mind, looking at a lifestyle war game, the vast majority of war games are not lifestyle war games, right? You pick up, you buy them, you trade for them, they get gifted, whatever. You get them, you learn them, you play them. Maybe it takes an afternoon to learn. Maybe you can learn, set up, play in the first evening you get it. A lot of the games are like that. I like are like that, right? Maybe a couple days, but they don't take weeks, months, right, to learn and experience and play to really say, yep, I've mastered this. Now, a simple game, you're probably not going to even say, well, I mastered it, because it's a simple game. But the games I like to play, for the most part, are not the games that are going to devote that much time, energy, money, effort to learning and then playing. Now, part of that is because of what I do. Because of my hobby here, right, and my passion of having this channel, right? I've said before, it's not my job. Well, what I mean by that is that I'm not getting paid for it, right? No one hired me. I don't have a company, no LLC here. But it is kind of my job in the sense that I want to, and I need to, I'm expected by you guys, right, to cover different games. This isn't the Wayne Hansen covers, ASL channel, and that's all I do is ASL. All I do is great campaigns of the American Civil War. No, I cover multiple different games. Check my phone here just to make sure. All right, hang on. Make sure my wife wasn't texting me. So for me, I prefer to play sort of lighter, easier games than these lifestyle games. But sometimes I have this kind of a soft spot for them because when you look at something like Warfighter, you see all the expansions and all the content for it. It's like, wow, there's a lot to this game. Like, this is actually pretty cool. Go back to your guys' comments here. JBX says lots of rules plus lots of errata equals lifestyle game? Question mark. Lots of rules, I would say. I don't think there's a single lifestyle game that has very light rules. I mentioned maybe Warfighter, but even then, Warfighter is not light on the rules. It's a medium weight game. David says, I think some of the big strategic games like Europa are lifestyle games. Yeah, World in Flames. There's some of those games where it's one game, right? It's one game, but it's just such a large, epic, game that you are playing it for years, right? That's another thing, right? A game you're going to be playing for years, not just the replay value per se, but because it takes so long to play, and that when you do play it and there's such a variety to it that when you finish and you're finished, you come back around and you're basically starting from scratch, but things are way different, right? So something like that, a huge epic game. And now some of those also have massive table space, things like that, right? A lot of those like World in Flames. Jumpmaster says, I stay away from games that have too many modules. I tend to be a completionist, and that leads to big money. I think VG's Warfighter tempted me. So yeah, DVG's Warfighter, right? So talk about lots of modules, expansions. It's going to cost money. Warfighter is one of them. Now, Warfighter, like most of these games, right? You can still buy the base game and you can play it, and you're good. You're going to have a good experience. Warfighter, what are you interested in? The Western Front of World War II? Pick up Warfighter World War II. You're interested in the Pacific Theater? Warfighter Pacific. etc. Right? Modern, Warfighter Modern. Bam, you are set. You have a lot of gameplay in that box. And then, maybe pick up an expansion or two. But obviously it starts getting tricky. It starts getting like a slippery slope. Then you start feeling, if you're a completionist, if you have FOMO, fear of missing out, you're probably going to start picking up those expansions. You're start picking up all the box sets. Suddenly one core box and maybe an expansion or two turns into 3-4 core boxes, dozens of expansions. Now you've put a second mortgage on the house and your spouse is leaving you, but it's okay because your house is covered with Warfighter cards. So you're fine, right? You just play Warfighter all day long. No, seriously though, right? Like there's so much to that game. And that's not the only one. Lock and Load Tactical. Heavy rule set, big game, not big table space wise per se, but just a lot to it, right? But there's so many box sets you can buy, so many games you can buy that you could get just lost in it and spend really the majority of your hobby time playing that one game. Now it's more than one game, right? It's kind of the system, but the idea stands, right? It's that one ecosystem of a game, right? Christopher says, for me, Darwalt Krieg, the operational scale encompasses a 4.5-year global war, massive amount of material. Jumpmaster says, doing campaigns with the old Victory Games Ambush was and still is fun and great stories evolved. Have all these mods and still play them. Although probably, in my mind, not the definition of a lifestyle game, I don't think. But that's just my definition. Yours may differ. It's like arguing about the definition of war game. There's no really correct answer. I mean, mine, obviously, but, other people have their own ideas too. So Jumpmaster says, Warfighter seems to get fiddly for me after a bit. No, it is. It's a fiddly game. It also takes up more table space than I'm comfortable with. You guys know that's kind of a thing on me. I like, a game to be... So think of a traditional war game map, right? The 22 by 34 inch, give or take. It's kind of the upper limit on the space that I want to spend on a game, that I want to have for a game. When it is bigger than that, it just gets distracting to me, especially as a solitaire gamer, right? Now, if you're multiplayer or two people, even just, you know, head to head. That's a little different, right? Because you have people, you're accessing the game board from different spots, right? Maybe opposite of each other. But unless you L'd out in the game, tactical L'd out in your game. But if you're just playing solo, which Warfighter, Solitaire game, right? Man, you know, you got all those cards. They start taking up a lot of space. You're managing the little tokens, you know, all these counters on everything. It can kind of get to be a lot. That's one reason that Warfighter is a game that I haven't covered on my channel, really. Now, I do like Warfighter. I like the games. I like the system. I'm really looking forward to Warfighter Fantasy. When I pre-ordered it, kickstarted everything. And then hopefully one of these days it'll be actually released, which it will be. I trust DBG. Like, they're going to release it for sure. But I'm looking forward to it. It's still probably going to be very fiddly. Of course, it's going to be fiddly. It's going to take up a lot of table space. I'm going to try to cover it on my channel a little bit, but there's a limit, right? Because there's so much to it. And I find myself, a game like that, right? The more fiddly it is, the more rules there are, the more rules exceptions there are, the more pieces involved. So from my perspective, I'm doing a video that's more chances for me to make errors. Try not to make errors. And if I do make errors, I want you guys to point them out in the comments so that I can catch them and other people can see those and know, like, oh, okay, that was a mistake, right? Because I'll get a comment from someone that says, you did this. Why did you do that? And sometimes it's a strategy choice, right? Sometimes it's, oh, well, that was a mistake. And they go, oh, I didn't even realize. Like, sometimes they do say, like, I think you made a mistake. Okay, fair enough. Point it out so we can get it fixed. But when you play these big games like Warfighter, you know, you're going to be making mistakes. To point out a game that I'm covering right now, Point Blank. I've been watching, I don't usually have to do this for a game, but because Point Blank is such a big game, there's so much to it. And by the way, in my upcoming review, I'm going to spoil it, I kind of think that Point Blank is kind of a lifestyle game, or it will become one, assuming it gets additional content. But as it is, there's a lot there. It's a heavy system. But I found myself watching videos from the designer and the guys at Lock and Load Publishing, Devin, etc., and then even Tony from Tony's Board to Life, trying to just learn the game myself, trying to see more about it, and see how it works, just make sure I'm doing things right. And at one point, the designer himself, and I hate to call you out, Sean, sorry, but he comments and he says on a video he makes a mistake, and they catch it. I think maybe he makes a mistake, and then Devin, his opponent, so he catches it, right? If he was playing Solitaire, he wouldn't even caught it. That's his own design, and he made a mistake. And Devin catches it, and he goes, oh, my bad, sorry, I made a mistake. He goes, it's a 70-page rule book, so even I'm going to make mistakes. Well, here you have the designer himself making a mistake, and because he also admits, right, it's a 70-page rule book. Now, Lock and Load Publishing their rule books, it is a large font, lots of pictures, so it's not 70 pages of dense text, right? There's a lot there fluffing it out, but it's still a big rule book with a lot of rules. So if the designer can make a mistake on a game, and and Sean, trust me, you're not the only one. I mean, I make all the mistakes, make up for everything, but you're not the only designer to make mistakes. I've watched designer playthroughs where they've made mistakes, they've admitted it, and sometimes kind of like semi-serious mistakes too. So it can happen to the best of us. If you design a game yourself, you can make a mistake on your own game, funny enough. So I find is that when you have games like Warfighter, right? Again, Point Blank, Warfighter, Lock and Load Tactical, whatever the case may be, these complex, large games with lots of moving pieces, lots of rules exceptions, you're going to make mistakes. If you're playing Solitaire, you're just by yourself, hopefully you catch them because you should be playing the game by the rules, but it's entirely possible you can make mistakes and never know it. Never know it. And I've seen people that have commented on my videos or someone else's video and say, hey, I've been playing a game this way, but I see you're doing this. Which is right? And they're basically like, I don't know. And that's just the people talking about it, admitting it. And not that it's an admission, right? Make a mistake, It's not a big deal. Learn from it, move on. You're not bad at it for making a mistake, but probably learn from it and adjust it, right? Well, what about all the people that are playing a game wrong and never know it, never find out, or if they do find out, they don't say anything. They're not like, yeah, I was making these mistakes. No. They just make mistakes and that's it, and they move on from it. So the more complex the game is, the more mistakes you're going to make. And when it comes to these lifestyle games, that's something that I, again, from my perspective, someone who's making videos for you guys, that I want to be both educational and entertaining, right? My two things, educational and entertaining. I usually want to teach you the game or help you learn it. and then I want it to be entertaining. So you enjoy watching the video and you have fun with it, and you engage with me in the comments and all those things. I absolutely love that. So, you know, if I have a game where I don't feel comfortable, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna get into my review. I'll cover it. I'm not going to get into it. Sorry, in my review I will cover it. But with Point Blank, that is the absolute top of complexity of a game that I would ever want to play myself. You know, and it's not overly complex, but there is a lot to it. And I'll talk about that again in detail in my review. But that's kind of the limit of a game for me. That's it. And even then, it's pushing almost beyond my comfort zone. Right at the top, right at the tippy top, baby. So anyway, now that and that's why it's taking so long too, right? Because I'm trying to learn it enough and feel comfortable with it that I can play it and show the game off. And I know I'm going to show my gameplay video, and there's going to be mistakes made, and I want you guys to point them out because I want whoever watches it to see mistakes that are getting made and that they're corrected in the comments, and I want them to be aware of it, right? So that they're not just learning incorrect gameplay, incorrect behavior, incorrect rules. I want them to see how the game is played. So please point out mistakes in my videos. Anna says hi. Hi, Anna. Howdy. John Master, reality is that the game is the game no matter the cards in most cases. Maybe I'm wrong. I assume he'll talk about Warfighter. Takes up life, a lot of it. Yeah, it can. It certainly can. David mentions, I haven't tried it, but Fields of Fire seems like it must be a lifestyle game. Probably is. I would say it is. I don't play Fields of Fire. And again, because Fields of Fire is one, right, is like, how another way you can kind of say is like, it's kind of a lifestyle game, is that if you go to a place like Board Game Geek or on Facebook, although it's a little hard to keep track of them, and you see a bunch of AARs, after action reports, or replays, however you want to call them, like text ones, pictures, whatever, and you see a bunch from the same people, right? Like you'll have someone who's just like posting a dozen of them. That's because they are sitting there playing that game over and over and over again, right? They're devoting a significant amount of their time, their energy to playing that game. Fields of Fire, I have not played it. I know it's very complex. I know there's a lot of rules to it. I'm not comfortable with that. That's not the game that I want to play. I don't want to spend. I do this hobby because it's enjoyable. I do like to push myself. I do like to push my brain, right? I do like to learn, I want to grow, keep those synapses firing. There's a point where, okay, there's too much work. It shouldn't be work. It shouldn't be easy necessarily. It's okay to be hard, but it shouldn't be work, right? There's kind of like easy and then hard, and then there's work. Like I'm putting work in here. And I've had games where I started playing, I'm like, man, I'm putting in work. This isn't even like fun for me at all. Like no part of it is fun, right? I'm not saying there's games where I played that I ultimately didn't love, but that maybe there was at some point I was like, oh god, this is not having fun learning it, or I'm not having a lot of fun learning it. It's kind of a drag. But then once it clicks, it's like, whoa, this is great. There's games where it's like it never clicks for me, and I think most people are like that to some degree. Whether it's and it could be lighter than me, it could be heavier. There are people that are playing Fields of Fire all the time, and I have no interest in it. I don't think it's beyond me. I think I could very easily play Fields of Fire, but I choose that I kind of stop before then, right? I do not want to spend the mental energy and the time on that particular game when I know that I can spend that same amount of time, mental energy on probably a dozen other games, right? And again, it's for me, I have the channel and I want to show more games off to you guys, so I can't just sit there and play Fields of Fire for a month, right? You guys don't want to watch the same Fields of Fire content for a month. Be interested in unboxing, maybe a little bit of coverage of it, maybe a review, but also to get to that review to the point that I can speak to that game, Fields of Fire or another game, I need to feel comfortable with it. I feel comfortable that I know the rule set, I know what the designer intended, and I know how it actually works. Like, I know what they intended, but then does it actually work type of thing? How does it compare to history? How can you learn the game from the rule book? All the things that I cover, right? And all the things I talk about week to week here. And as I've said, I play my games to that point, right, where I feel comfortable with it. Doesn't mean I'm mistake-free. Doesn't mean that, oh, well, that must mean Wayne thinks that he's going to play a game mistake-free. So, and if he makes a mistake, aha, he doesn't know the game as well as he thinks he does. No, you're still going to make mistakes. Again, designers make mistakes. The designers of games make mistakes on their own playthrough. So trust me, if they're making mistakes, I'm making just as many, if not many, many more. But I still have a great idea how the system works overall. Just because I forget a modifier because of the terrain. Oh, I forgot the bog finish units in Bogland are able to do not get a negative on the defensive modifier. Oops, forgot. Oh well. Learn from it, but it was a mistake, an honest one. Doesn't mean I don't know the rest of the system and how the system works together. There are reviewers that, I'm not naming names, that I know for a fact because they admit it in their reviews. At some games didn't even finish a single game and they're giving a review of it. How can you give a review if you haven't finished a game? Like, you got to play through it. First of all, you should play through it more than once. And if it's a really huge game, it's very complex, fine. Maybe you only play through the whole thing once, but I think you should have that beginning, the middle, and the end resolution, right? You gotta have the whole experience before you can have a review of it. And a full, fair review. And I don't care whether you end up loving it at the end of it or you hated it. If you didn't play through the entire game, you can't provide a good review. I'm sorry. Howdy, Sean. Greetings from Slovakia. All right, howdy. Greetings from Southwest Missouri, here in the United States. DBX says, where does time go? It's almost 2 o'clock here. So what are we at? So it's almost 1 here, right? So yeah, it's 52 minutes in. David says, when I first started playing Third Reich as a kid in the 70s, I missed that the defender gets doubled on defense. Made those early German attacks a lot easier. Right, and I'd say that, when you make mistakes on these games, when you're making a small mistake, like I mentioned, die roll modifiers, it's a mistake. It should be corrected. It's probably not swinging the whole game, right? But when you find yourself making a mistake of from the sequence of play, that's when it's brutal. And I've done it myself where hopefully I usually catch it fairly early. But, you're playing the game and maybe you're this or that. And you're like, something doesn't make sense. Doesn't work right. What's going on? How is this so easy? And, I think you'll see that when you have people with solitaire games that post online, Facebook, Board Game Geek, and they say, oh, this game is, especially a game that is maybe very difficult. And they post and they say, oh, I had no problems with it. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, oh, well, I won every one of my games. And it's a game where I won maybe 1 out of 10. And not just me, but other people, right? I wonder, it's like, are you making some serious mistakes? And again, I don't mean a die roll modifier here or there, because that shouldn't impact the entire game per se, right? It may hinge on something. Maybe it'll swing one game, right, from a win to a loss or a loss to a win. But if you're playing 10 games, it shouldn't influence all 10 of them or 9 of them or something, right? So then it makes it like, are you playing the game correctly? Like, are you making sure the enemy comes back every turn or whatever the rules may be in that particular game? Charles says, Mark Simontech's 19.4X games are a lifestyle. Rules are somewhat similar, but the variance between the games keeps interest up for me. If I had to get rid of most of my games, these would stay. There you go. So you have a system, right, that's very similar. Each game is a little different. Heck, Blind Swords is like that. I think there's probably more differences with the 19.4X games, but even Blind Swords, right? Like from Stonewall Sword, Thunder in the Ozarks to the latest, what the latest would be, Stay as Ours or Thunder at Dawn. Pick up Thunder at Dawn, Battle of Wilson's Creek. Great game, great designer, Claude Whalen, great play testers. This guy, so go ahead and definitely check that one out. But anyway, if you have a game that has a base system that's really the same, and then just kind of modifications along the way to fit the particular theater, campaign, etc. Absolutely. Like, that's a lifestyle game, right? Like, it's a lifestyle system. So you may be like, well, it's not a lifestyle game. Lifestyle games, right? It's a lifestyle system. You are devoting a lot of your energy, time, money to that particular game system, learning it, keeping up with it, playing it enough so that you're still familiar with it. So that way when you want to go back to a game, or if a new game comes out, you can kind of jump right in as opposed to just starting over from scratch. Sean asks, is there a non-lifestyle war game that you have played that you think would have been better or maybe benefit from being a lifestyle game? I know that there's games that come out that I'm like, man, this should be a series. This should be a series, right? Like, you play it and you're like, why isn't there more to this? Why isn't there more to this game? Aren't there more expansions type of thing? As much as sometimes it could be seem like a negative that there's a bunch of expansions for a game. sometimes I feel like you want that, right? Because you want more content for it. I'm trying to think. It's a great question, Sean. I don't know if I have any examples off the top of my head. Maybe some of, I don't even know. I don't know if I have a great answer. A good question for everybody, actually. So, no one else can think of any games that benefited from being sort of a lifestyle game, and that's kind of what I look at. Is what would it be for me? That would be more content. What is it? What does it have? Is it, and I could look at something like, so, John Tyson, his, American Civil War, his operational series of games over at Hollenspiel. So he did 3 operational American Civil War games, and they were, and with Holland and Mary over there, they were very insistent that these games, the first 3 he did, more aggressive attitudes. Any other, I can't remember them offhand immediately, but he was there. They were very insistent that John Tyson's designs, that they stood alone, right? They were not a series, but they seemed like they were series, and the rules were very similar, but they were very insistent. It was weirdly insistent. These are not a series of games. They're similar, but they're not the same. Okay, well then literally John Tyson and they sort of released, Our God Was My Shield was the first one, and then the latest one, which I have somewhere over here, I can't see, is that it was, where'd that go? Now it's bugging me that I don't know where it is. Let me throw all my games here. But suddenly it's it's a series now. It's, the operational American Civil War series of games. Oh, well now it's a series. So now it's turning into a series, but it's you release those 3, and now you've released 2 that are part of the new series. In reality, they're similar. The first 3 obviously are closer than the next 2, but anyway, it's almost a little bit of a mess. It's I wish it maybe from the beginning, and hindsight's 2020, I'm sure for them too, right, that they had just said, hey, let's have a series of games. Because what I look at it especially with this particular series from John Tyson, Hollenspiel, is it's great campaigns in the American Civil War, light, right? It's the simple great campaigns in the American Civil War. I play Great Battles of History, but I play simple Great Battles of History, 2nd edition rules. Absolutely love it. Would not go to the fully leaded version of the rules. Too long, too fiddly. Simple is the way to go for me. Would love to have seen maybe that series of games be kind of more cohesive from the beginning, more of a direct series, because now it's a series rulebook and then a specific game rulebook each time. Man, I wish it was that way from the beginning, because it's all the games are great. It's just too bad that it's, trying to learn each game is a little bit harder just because they're not part of one cohesive series, or at least they weren't from the beginning. Of course, where says, I wish the combat system for Patents for Victory was used for other games. Yeah, I haven't played that, but there's lots of games where it's oh man, this system rocks. I hope this system gets translated to other games. Talking about the 19.4x. Charles says, I found the rules are most easy to understand. Going back to my first Holland 44, I did not feel confused as hell for going through the rules for the first time. The rulebook didn't overpower me. And I assume that's meaning because you had played, you played the 19X games over time, right? So then when it came to that one, going back to that, you're oh, wait a second, this is clicking. It's like riding a bicycle, right? It starts coming back to you a lot quicker. If you already built that foundation of knowledge and foundation with the rules, it's going to come back to you a lot easier. You may still have to reread the rule book, play a learning game, and then get into it, whatever, but you're going to definitely, it's going to make it a little easier. So, we're going to wrap things up here in just a few minutes. We're only going to go about an hour. We're just going to go an hour 5. I don't want to go the full hour 20, hour and a half, because I have those videos to film for Point Blank, Vs for Victory. I need to get them done. I promised I would, so I will. So, any comments, any questions, guys? So I'm going to have a few more minutes here, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Anything you guys want to talk about? Any comments, questions for me related to this week's topic, related to anything else, related to Vern? You let me know in the comments below, or comments over here, I should say, kind of to the side, right? For me and for you guys watching, it's probably comments to the side. So anything, go ahead, ask me, ask each other. Jumpmaster asks, are gamers too anxious for newer and more innovative systems to stick to series type games? Yeah, some of us are. So, I call it, I didn't invent the term at all. I first heard the term, I think, on the Dice Tower, which is cult of the new, which is, hey, I'm addicted to new games, right? Well, I am kind of cult of the new. I am cult of the new. I'm not kind of, I am cult of the new. Part of that is the channel, right? I need to get new games to show off to you guys. I need to show off the new ones. Those are what's hot, new hot, right? Not old classic hot, but like new hot, right? It's the new games. You guys want to see them. You want to see the recons. You want to see the playthroughs, the tutorials, and my reviews. So you know whether you want to buy it or not. So I have to cover that on my channel. But yeah, there's an element maybe of, hey, you play a game, you play some games, play a bunch of times, whatever. Oh, that was great. That was a lot of fun. What's next? Even if that game probably still has some life left in it, you're probably going to move on, right? You're going to be like, all right, what's next? You may sell that game, you may trade it away, you may stick it on your shelf, play it in the future. Who knows, right? But you're looking for the next game now, right? What's next that gives you that feeling of the rush of like a new game, a new experience. Sean says, I feel Space Infantry Resurgence would have worked better going the lifestyle route instead of front loading with a big expensive box and only one expansion. So that is something that conversation that was had also with Lock and Load, because so Space Infantry Resurgence from Lock and Load Publishing with Point Blank as well, VS for Victory. I talked to them about it. They talked about it a lot. I mentioned that there's some. So those who don't know, when the game was on Kickstarter, I had a video that I was a very popular video, and then they responded to me. David Heath contacted me. I spoke to him on the phone, and we talked about the game, kind of what they're looking to do with it. And one of the things that we talked about was basically what you're saying, Sean, right? Is that like I looked at it like Warfighter, not the system. The systems are not alike at all. It's not the game. They're card-based war games. That's it, right? They're just the systems themselves are not the same game, but the fact that, hey, you have a card-based war game, you buy a core box, right? What about expansions? Warfighter, DVG. Hey, yep, you buy a core box, you're buying expansion after expansion. Good thing, you get to fit kind of what you want. You can cover a variety of topics, and you just have to buy an expansion pack of cards, right? Bad side, FOMO, collectible, collectors, etc. You're buying a lot of content. You're spending a lot of money. Cheaper up front for the core box. What is it, $50, $60 for the DVD core box? Point Blank core box is $100 plus, $120, but you're getting more cards in the core box for Point Blank, and there's no expansion, right? For Point Blank, there is no expansion as of yet. This is it. There's not even a Space Infantry Resurgence, which had a base box and then an extra expansion. Point Blank is just Point Blank box, but it's a thick, heavy box, a lot of game in there. Now, you get all that, and you get a lot of game. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to have expansions like DVG does, right? They've said that. David Heath has said that. Their goal is to not have a bunch of expansions, to have everything basically in one box. So they're making that choice. Is it the best choice? I don't know. I'm cool with either way, I guess. I was more familiar with DVG and Warfighter and how they kind of do it with, we get a cheaper core box and you buy the expansions you want later. But Lock and Load wants to do one big ass box. You buy it and it's got everything you want, everything you possibly need in one. It costs more up front, but you don't have to sit there and spend money over long term either to collect everything. So as its pluses and minuses. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. I really appreciate everyone coming. Thank you so much for those who came and contributed. We talked about lifestyle games. You got to meet Vern. Talked about him. Talked to him a little bit. He didn't say much back, but he's a cute guy, isn't he? He's love the heck out of him. So, but thanks everybody. Thanks the crew for coming on over and chatting and sharing your games and your favorite games and what you like, what you don't like. I sure appreciate it. Next week's topic, no idea what it's going to be. We'll figure it out, but it'll be next week, same day, Friday, same time, 1200 hours Central Standard Time, noon where I am, whatever time it is for you. About an hour and 5 minutes before what time it is right now. That's the time it'll be. So I know there's a little bit of conversation going on. I hate to end the live stream. I got some people chatting here, but I gotta go. Like I said, I gotta get these videos done for Point Blank. Christopher, thanks. I'll let Vern know. Hope everyone here has a great weekend. Hope you guys have a good time. play some war games, all right? And then next week you guys can tell me what games you played, okay? So, but until next time, everybody, later.